Patience, everybody, we're just getting a little bit of IT assistance to make sure that our microphones are working. A little bit late starting.
They're live.
You guys What day was the fanciest? Yeah, no, I'm going to not to myself.
And you're the tailor, you know.
It's online. You can't be able to.
Yeah, something.
They don't have to see.
It says it's on. It's got on. It's plugged in. It's filling It's all right, we've got a few minutes. Yeah, there's another app. They just got it. It's all on. It says it's all on.
And just,
Everything's plugged in. Everything's plugged in.
if you touch it, does it seem like, does it do it? Just checking.
Have you found something? In short, I think what you must do.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Keep on down when it comes. Day.
I think it's, yeah, it's. Yes, that's kind of good. You're racing up. Yeah, also.
Yeah.
Oh. We got more than nine,
Well, he said he would be. And he's,
and 2 hours. So it's-
he has a kind of. Oh, is that? Thank you.
So it's, you might post it up.
I two are on their way.
Stainless start to the day.
Seamless.
Should we blame that new chair?
Blame the chicken.
No, yes, you can't blame me.
The old days.
Say that.
Don't tax it, that's actually, it's honestly a bit hard. Honestly, there is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were sitting there last night, thanks for pulling people up out there, it's like, good job, stop speeding. Stop doing burnouts.
Time I hear it, I think that's
Oh, that's good.
Oh, it's just in the middle of the night, him to get out of bed. And they do it.
I can hear you.
We're on.
Hello.
You're on.
Can you hear us?
I can
Yeah, I can
hear
hear
you.
you. I can hear you now.
Able to hear it?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any members and members of the public. Just note, I am not Melissa today. Melissa is off sick, so I'm taking the chair's role for her today. And I'm sure you're wishing her a speedy recovery. First things first, please ensure that your devices and cell phones are either switched off or in silent mode. If a cell phone interrupts the course of the meeting, please and wait for the device to be muted, and I'll look at you while we wait. This meeting is being held in the supper room, the Waihinga Centre, Town Hall. It's being live streamed sound recorded and will be available on Council's YouTube channel. Health and safety. The emergency exits for this room are the door that you come in at this end and the exit behind me. If we need to evacuate the building, use one of the exits and assemble outside by the playground. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. And in the event that we experience any unruly or intimidating behaviour during the course of the meeting, until it is safe for us to reconvene, and members of the council and committee, or members of the committee and staff will congregate in the office area behind me if this action is necessary. Okay, so normally we invite somebody to say the couple together today. Or after that, I'd like us all to say it together. Great. Kia ora.
Kareno kia whakapa taura me te moana. Hei huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou ia tātou katoa. Tui. Tahikia.
The English translation of that is, may peace be widespread. May the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Let us show respect. Let us show respect for each other, for one another, and bind us all together. Great.
In a sweet.
So, do we have any apologies? No, we do. We've got Deputy Mayor Sadler-Potter, and we have Councillor Bosley is online, is very unwell, and then we have Councillor Plummer who will be joining us when he's able.
I may have to leave early.
And a potential apology from Councillor Woodcroft. Councillor Olds, would you move to accept the apology?
I'm happy to do that.
Great. Do I have a seconder? Okay. All those in favour, please say aye.
Right.
All those against, please say no. Motion is carried. And just on that, in favours and against, just for today, because there's going to be a few things that we have to take some polls on. When we're saying aye, well, hands up, and then when we're saying no, hands up, and then I'll ask if anybody's abstaining, just so it's easy to count who's saying what.
Are we able to just also keep an eye on our councillors who might be zooming in, so then that way we can see actually vote count?
Great. Good.
Thank you.
Any conflicts of interest to declare? No. Move on to A4. Are there any acknowledgements and tributes?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim Harper. Yes.
So Jim was Jim Harper, and Jim was a very well-known gentleman here in our within the Martinborough community and also the wider South Wairarapa district. He was our milkman for many years. The local go around in his truck, and so that was how all of the community first knew him. And then with his beautiful children that he had with his wife, Missy Harper, who was our wonderful puti or flower, who was able to help us when we first all got on council in the first part with the Waiata, that we were all sent out for our opening inauguration. And so to Missy and to all of the Harper whānau, we send our love. Jim was also a well-loved and respected firefighter with Martinborough Fire Service for 27 years as a volunteer, and he was also a life member of the Martinborough Rugby Club. So every single, he was really one of our cornerstones here in Martinborough, and he will be missed.
I'll see. Okay. All right, so then we're going to move on to public participation. So senators will have 5 minutes to speak to the committee, including question time. When we get to 4 minutes, Robin's going to raise her hand. If you like, Robin can also tap on the desk just to make sure that we're really clear with that 4 minutes. And then at 5 minutes, it's a hard stop. Great. So without further ado, I will invite Jim Headley to come up to the table. Might need to bring the chair up with you.
Well, I do know you don't worry about us. We have to, obviously have to stand. Yeah.
Stand if you like.
Can you easily bring a chair up?
I'm going to pass that round, Jim.
Seeing them so far away from you, we've got this big gap. Yeah.
your public way council.
That's right.
Thank you.
I would like to say before I start, it is quite difficult sometimes
As soon as you start, we're starting the clock going.
to see on YouTube that, you know.
So your 5 minutes has started?
Council are having a representative review, but as long as council stay with the existing wards, it is unlikely that council will represent all communities. As I've said before, with the present ward, with a third of the rural put with a full urban, a farmer candidate has an uphill battle because they must get the urban vote, which is less likely, whereas an urban candidate only has to get the urban vote. Therefore, there is a need for a rural ward. Even that would not guarantee a farmer present on the council. If South Wairarapa is like Masterton for rural farmers, are outnumbered 5 to 1 by lifestyles. At present, rural is represented by lifestyles with no representation from pastoral, dairy, horticultural, vineyards or butchery. Even though one council said they were put on by the vineyards, they only had a small proportion of those. It was the vineyards that saved Martinborough. Now they are penalised with capital value. They now pay rates on the value of their vines as well. The councillor did not look after the vineyards' interests very well. A rural advisory committee has not worked in the past. Need to be a rural ward, as rural have about 36% of the population. Rural should have 3 councillors and urban 5, 1 for each town and 2 urban at large of urban. I do not agree with the Maori ward. That's racism. Most Maori today are a mixture of other cultures.
Jim, I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. But under our standing orders, we won't tolerate any discussions that I would deem as disrespectful or offensive. And I think discussing the ward as racist.
It's a fact.
It's racist not having it.
Plus, that's the end of your time now.
180 years of race for us.
Thanks, Jim.
I don't know, that's being disrespectful.
Okay, so a little bit.
I'm like Yakuel
Martinborough Community Board.
into our world.
Haven't started yet. Good morning, everybody.
Morena Storm.
Sorry.
Morena.
Okay.
So look, my comment is about the meeting that refers to the committee, strategy working committee on July 3rd. So I know some things have been updated, but the information still remains to be incorrect. So the first thing, the committee board is concerned that the document contained inaccuracies, and that was used in your deliberations, which were inaccurate in final conclusions. So we're talking about the meeting which said in first that it was not introduced properly. It was introduced as an item different to the agenda, so it wasn't introduced to the agenda. So there was no time for the deliberation of the document to make a clear assumption, and maybe if that had happened, we would have picked up the inaccuracies. There were also in that the representation for 2025 and 2028. Comment was made that there was a lack of individual standings in the community boards, and Featherston was highlighted as being one of the only ones that had 3 or more people. That again was incorrect. In fact, Martinborough had 5 applications, one of which was deleted because of inaccuracy in processing, not by the applicant. It also came in option A of your selections that to consult on no community boards, we believe is, again, inaccurate in the statement. You cannot have a negative saying you cannot debate no community, because what you're doing is saying you've actually concluded your deliberations and said there is no community boards. We believe no should be removed from the document. And finally, you look at the status quo document that quoted the community boards are made up of 3 members in this community. Again, inaccurate. I can't believe people that serve on community boards sitting around this table have never looked at the people sitting in community boards and discovered there was 4. We think this whole inaccuracy has led to inaccuracies coming out of your decisions and could affect your decisions today. So we think it needs to be totally reviewed. Now, fellow board member Andrew is going to give some further dissertations on some of the statements in today's agenda.
Kia ora, everyone. So, I'm sorry, excuse me, it's just a few simple points about the document. You might want to have it open while I speak to it, because I'm going to refer to page 1. So, page 27 says removal of community board, noting that elected members from each ward always provide representation. Community boards are for elected members. It may be clearer to say elected members of the council, just as elected members, it might be, just makes it a little bit clearer that we are actually elected members. Page 27 and 28 both refer to the cost of running boards. It's referred to with no indication of actual amounts. We have had an ongoing discussion about what is shown on our papers and financials as our salaries is incorrect. It's financial, it's our salaries plus the admin cost. And I think some people are a little bit unsure as to how much we actually get. But also there is a general cost that we do appreciate for the council as well. Page 28, we'd like to see more information about what community boards actually do as per our terms of reference. And for Martinborough Community Board, an inclusion regarding the recommendations, power of recommendations for the governance of paying farmers stay, which is page 2 of our terms of reference. We just think it's a unique application for Martinborough Community Board, and people have already raised the question, what will happen if there's no community boards to paying farmers? Which I understand is still under discussion, we know that, but it's just those things. Page 28, possibility of provided greater enhanced delegations. I'm not sure if it's supposed to say possibility of providing, the wording's just not correct. And page 29, other options for local representations refers to enhanced community boards. Is this implying a non-elected alternative? If so, it should be clearer that that's what it's implying, because it's on page 29 as alternative. And frequently asked questions, can we add, is it all or nothing? Could one ward maintain a community board if there are strong support for so, such as it happens in Wellington with, say, Tower Community Board? Or do we look all of them on autumn?
Yeah, very good point.
Point noted, yeah.
We get excellent point. Right.
But you can say.
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
5 seconds, crikey. Thanks, Chair. Storm, I'd just like to raise some points you raised about the discussion on the agenda item about community boards only having 3 members. I saw that last week when I was reading the agenda. I got in touch with Amy and she modified that into the paperwork. I've also got some of the other things that you have mentioned. I've got notes on that, so I'll be raising those issues later on with cover.
The point being that it's still in the document being discussed. I appreciate what you've done, but that's still in the document being discussed at that point. So they were inaccurate.
Yeah, so,
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Moving forward, that'd be great.
and thank you for correcting that, Adam. Yeah. It's okay. Just bury it.
Do you have any items for extraordinary business?
Oh.
Please.
Eyes and T's.
Speaking of-
Move on to minutes for confirmation. So considering the minutes of the meeting from the 3rd of July, are there any corrections to this meeting? So do I have a mover to confirm that the Minutes of the Strategy Committee meeting held on the 3rd of July 2024 at 8 record. Any matters arising from the previous minutes? No. So now we get into the meat of the meeting. So we're going to go into decision reports from the Chief Executive Council officers. We are going to invite Nikki to the table to talk to Okay, so representation review, we've had a change to recommendations from what's in the report.
Through you, Chair, I'd like to table some alternate recommendations to the report and just ask that the Chair foreshadow them as they've been follows advice that we have received from Actions, and Stephen Hill is online to guide us with these recommendations as well. And they hopefully are in front of you. Have you received copies of the recommendations to accept the representation review and to adopt, and it basically lists out the adoption of each of the
2 seconds, Nikki. Sorry, we're just making sure that everybody has had a copy of this.
No.
No.
So the updated ones.
Could we, is it possible to move the table forward now? Because you seem to be quite submissive some way. I'm very,
That's fine. I don't
We're all
know.
thank you.
Moaning about it, eh? Move the furniture.
That's better. Hi, guys.
I can email them all to you as well.
Think it is.
Emailed?
An email to you.
Mr. Chair, the major changes are that Elections NZ is asked to be prescriptive, and so it's actually asking each of the initial proposals to be line item. So, for example, the South Wairarapa Council comprises the mayor at large, and then it goes through each one around the Greytown General Ward, the Featherston General Ward, Clarkburn General Ward, and so forth. So it's just being very prescriptive.
Substantial.
That's,
No, it's just saying, we want you to be prescriptive. It's purposeful about each of the things.
No change to the meaning of it.
That the recommendation from here that all community boards are disestablished, because I think that the Martinborough Community Board has raised something quite important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering,
Hear the report.
oh, sorry.
Get into discussion.
Yes. So there are a couple of points I'd just like to talk about today in regards to this report. Today we are looking for an adoption of the initial proposal of representation for the 2025 and 2028 local elections. We are also looking for adoption of our consultation document and statement of proposal to go out to consult on this initial proposal based upon the consulted procedure. Today is a legislative deadline for the representation review. So under legislation, we are required as a council to adopt an initial proposal that includes the consultation document and statement of proposal by 31 July. We also then have a legislative deadline to go out for consultation within 14 working days and no later than 8 August for consultation on this representation review. The process going forward is that we will head into consultation in August, and today the consultation document also kind of outlines some engagement we're looking to do, and one of the requests to council today is to make sure that we get some support in running an engaged consultation with our communities. This is around understanding our communities of interest and how they would like to be represented at the 2025 and 2028 local election. Following consultation, there'll be hearings and deliberations. Please note in the paper as well that one of the requests that have come through is for a variety in the way that we provide options for our hearings. And we have included the option of a potential evening session for hearings to see if we can get some interest in some other communities that might, working during the day, coming along and talking together at them. Since writing the paper, there have also been some legislative changes. As of last night, the Māori Ward Amendment Bill went through Royal Assent and has come into effect today. So some of the information in that report is now no longer accurate. Council no longer has an option to go to poll by default, and we will need under the new legislation to actively make a decision to either rescind or go to poll on Māori wards. Office's recommendation for this is that following a review of the new legislation, that we bring a paper to council at the next strategy working committee, which is for September, which meets with the legislative deadline of 6 September to provide you with those options on the bill that's come to pass overnight.
I just want a point of clarification on the Maori Ward one in particular. Does that mean that we made the decision earlier this year to have Maori Ward appointed, sorry.
A referendum.
No. We chose to have a Maori Ward council here. So the 2025 elections was going to be our first opportunity to have a Maori representative elected onto our board. Is that no longer an option for us now under the new legislation, that we'll have to go to poll before we can?
So yeah, the only change with the amendment bill is that you actively need to make a resolution to go to poll. So previously we had taken a wee bit of a kind of state of how everyone felt about it at a workshop, very informally. And by default, we would just go to polls. The idea was at that workshop, we would have a Māori ward for 2025 and then poll at the election. So that's part of the election ballot. The difference now is that it's asking Group 2, which we are, to must resolve to affirm or resolve to rescind our resolution.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. My understanding is that councils that established a Maori ward without a referendum, which is us, have to hold a binding poll alongside the 2025 local body election next year. Unless what we're looking at here appears to suggest that we're also going to hold one now.
Yes.
What my recommendation is that allow council officers some time to go through the new legislation. So we have not had time to read it yet and provide advice to council on your options and steps forward. It is a decision needs to legislatively be made by the 6th of September. So we have.
Sorry, I can't hear. Sorry.
So rescind. Okay.
So you'd like us to make that decision today as well about either rescind or?
Yeah. So where we are, so we have made our decision within our council to have a Māori
Ward, yeah.
2025. And the legislation was that we could either decide to
Not do that.
have a poll or rescind. That's what's been locked in now. So if we decide, if the paper comes on the 4th and we look at that and go, we're going to rescind the decision and have a Māori, then we don't have to have a poll. But if we stick with our original decision, which is to have a Māori ward, we are now obligated to have a poll. So the paper that's going to be coming on the 4th will be outlining the implications of that. And then at that point, we'll make a decision that needs to be made by the 6th.
Yeah, so today we are looking for adoption of the initial proposal. Under legislation, it is a very prescriptive process. We also need to give public notification, not just to our community, but to a number of government organisations, along with the resolution today, which is very prescriptive in regards to how many councillors we are elected in 2025 and where they are coming from. And this is just to kind of also reiterate one of the comments raised by the Martinborough Community Board is we cannot go out to ask people if they would or would not like a community board. We need to make sure that our initial proposal is very, very clear that this is what the 2025 election will look like, and seek their feedback through consultation on that. There is then an opportunity for elected members to review the feedback, go through the hearings process, and at deliberations, we ask you to take on board the feedback from the community in regards to how they would like to be represented and make your final decision at that point. So there are 2 stages in which you need to look at the representation review proposal for 2025. Today is your initial, and then following the consultation, following the feedback from our community, would then lock in a final proposal that would go out for public notification. Anyone who has submitted to the consultation process over the next month also has the opportunity to submit objections through to the Commissioner, and the Commissioner makes the final decisions. There will be hearings if needed by the Commissioner around February of next year, and following the feedback from the community, the information that's been sent to the Commissioner, they will look to make the final decision on representation in around April 2025.
Excellent.
Councillor Maynard.
Okay, so here where it says this is what we want to adopt, it's just the one thing that we're going out with. And you know, and that this is what it looks like. I just have the question that I just, it's instead of it being disestablished, why can't it be that the community boards of Great Featherston and Martinborough remain the same, when in fact the information that we had previously been given actually said that there were 2 wards that didn't meet the standards for you know, have enough people running, when in fact it wasn't the case. It was only one of them from out of the 3. We had someone come to the Martinborough Community Board to discuss the fact that although it seems like, you know, that people are putting their hand up because they don't want to do it and they don't see a reason for the community board, it is actually the opposite. They are happy with who is putting their hand up to run on their and speak on their behalf at the community boards. And so that was from a public participation. And I look at this and I just think that the wrong question is being, or the wrong thing is being asked.
So I think that speaks to what you were saying, is that we can't present yes or no options.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it says that the community boards of Great Featherston and Martinborough remain as is instead of disestablished. The opposite.
I'm on the exact same view. That was going to be my question, because I do find a lot of the consultation we do, the negative is always used instead of the positive.
Absolutely.
And I think it's quite disgusting. I think Pip is bang on the money.
Thanks very much, Nikki. I've read through the paper and you've captured councillors' feelings and their comments throughout this whole process, and it's been a long, drawn-out process. There's one thing that I will mention is that certainly in the establishment of if community boards were to go effectively, there's not a lot of information about who, other than the councillors, would represent the best interests of our community. And while we've mentioned a rural advisory group, for instance, we've made no mention to our communities that the formation of perhaps a resident ratepayers association to pick up some of the roles that community boards had previously done. So I'd quite like to see some mention of the formation of resident ratepayers association in the consultation document.
They have no teeth. They don't have.
Hang on. Sorry. So yeah, I guess that's what I would quite like to see. But and finally, you have captured the conversation that we've all had as councillors around the table and put that into a document that I feel is ready for community.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Nikki, for that work and your amended recommendations. Reading through the paper, I, like others, were concerned with the statement consult on no community boards. And I was wondering as to whether that could be reworded to something to the effect of consult on retaining or not retaining our community.
It just has to be a.
Okay.
Looks like, but
Okay.
I'm saying instead of being the negative.
And then the second point that I was just wanting to make was in the consultation document on the second page there. It's the at the top of the second page, it's got current representation arrangement. And while in the text there is discussion about we have a community board, that schematic or that diagram, community boards are not displayed as part of the current structure. And if it is possible, and I don't know whether it is possible or not, can we include in that diagram the fact that we currently have community boards or members in each ward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, me. Is it me to go?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Obviously, this was always going to produce fairly robust debate. I prepared I guess, the pros and cons of both community boards and what the alternatives were as a response to a question from community board member Joe Woodcock, which is something that I'm happy to sort of circulate to other councillors. Nikki, I'm happy to send that through to you as well. But when we talked about what the alternatives to community boards are, I sort of mentioned that in there, being like the ward system they've got now. As Colin said, the idea of consultative committees, as well as direct engagement initiatives. There are other options available to us here that actually give some of these groups, I guess, more power than what the community boards have now. But again, that's for a wider debate. But if councillors, want to have a look at that document that I prepared, I'm happy to send it to them. And Nikki, if you want to have a look at it as well, an option.
Yeah, I would have a look at that.
Councillor McCauley.
Yes, I agree. Well, I think I'm agreeing with on they're saying I think the vote should be on whether we continue them as they are, right? Let's establish them, as I think it sort of sets bias towards the vote. But also I do think that as we put in the rural side, we put in the discussion of potential advisory groups as an option. If we were looking at other options, I think we should have some advisory look at that as an option too. I thought I saw something like that, but I can't see it. But I think that should be looked at as opposed to personally using a business group, because a lot of the ratepayers aren't business people. Yeah, that's my points. Yeah.
Through Madam Chair, just to note the statement proposal, because members have mentioned quite often now, there is a section on what are other options for local representation. And in that we do cover community boards, business associations, business improvement districts, residents association, and resident advisory committee. So we've covered that there. It is in the frequently asked questions section.
Is that able to be changed then to have in that part no community boards, and here community boards remain the same? So community board representation, Greytown, Featherston, Martinborough, rather than the negative saying about being disestablished and no community boards.
Through you, Chair, we just need to be very clear with this initial proposal whether or not you are going out for representation to include community boards in 2025. So it is either to include them, yes, or to not include them, and that is what we will consult on. So the option today on the table is looking at
not
your representation, your breakdown of who is an elected member and where they are elected from, whether it's at large or from a ward, and whether or not you have community boards.
But it's not asking.
That is what you need to decide today. And I also am very keen to get some input from Stephen, because any change today will require additional change to be worked on before the consultation document can go live. And I need to just be clear that we have a legislative deadline that if there is work involved to change may or may not be met. And I'm just keen for some further input from Stephen in regards to any changes here today and what that would involve.
I think just before we go to Stephen, I just would like to reiterate that the information that we're going out with is a result of decisions that we have made around the table and workshops that we've had and options that have been presented to us. And this was an option that we set aside.
Yeah. Totally agree.
I think it needs, this discussion's been very, very good, I think, to see how we feel about this. The fact is, it's like saying that we receive it and that we adopt it. Now is the time that we can make changes. Once it goes out, it goes out. Now is the time to have this conversation and to make sure that what is going out is how we're wanting to be represented. And like I say, I don't disagree with anything else that's on here. This is the one part that I still feel is not being presented correctly. That's how I feel.
Stephen?
It's one sentence.
It doesn't seem a big change.
Thanks, Madam Chair, councillors. Good to be with you today. Yes, I think Nikki has summarised the situation very well. And yes, it's correct that the recommendations that are in front of you today are substantively what is in the paper, but and as Rob mentioned, just a fairly prescriptive requirement under the legislation to put that into place. And I guess particularly looking at the question around community boards, yes, you could make a change to the recommendation 2.3. It would require some reworking probably of the consultation document. It's potentially feasible that could be done. But Nikki is correct when she says that this proposal has to be one proposal. It cannot go out with options, but you can certainly allow for questions to be asked as part of the information that's provided alongside the consultation document. So you could invite people to give their views about alternatives to what's provided, but the proposal has to be one proposal, and in terms of the community boards, it really needs to either say that they are disestablished or that they are retained.
Thank you.
Look on that side.
Yeah, I don't support the document as itself, but I do support the going out with the disbanding of the community boards. And the reason for that is that we've had, certainly in the last 2 elections, repeated elections for community boards because the community doesn't value them.
That's absolutely not true.
Well, it is true because
No, you speak.
so we've had 2 elections for Greytown, 2 elections for Featherston.
And how many for Martinborough?
Each time.
And I'm sorry.
It's my turn. It is my turn to talk.
The time.
So, we have had these elections. There is no mandate currently for 2 of our community boards and hasn't been for 2 elections because there's been no election. The community does not value them. And certainly where I come from and the feedback I get from it is they are not worth the money that has been spent on them. No one has ever come to me and said, boy, they're valuable. No one, not once in nearly 5 years. So
I'm shocked that you haven't had anyone from Martinborough when you said to represent the district. I'll tell you that.
And not only that, every time the community boards come here, I have repeatedly said, where is your evidence? In 5 years, we haven't had a single bit of evidence presented by a poll or anything to say we are representing the views of the community board. Yes, I hear the community board say we represent the community board, but that is 5 people. That is not the community. And there is money set aside so they can do this research. For the last triennium, we were told time and time and time again, you can go out and do this.
No, we weren't. And
I am quite comfortable with this and that.
Yeah, because this is not.
And especially last triennium and how community boards were treated.
To be having discussions between each other. This is for us to be talking about what's on the table.
Yeah.
And we're happy to go out with this as our consultation document. We had Councillor Elam's first, and then I think it was Councillor Macaulay, and then we'll go to Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. Certainly, I know and I understand the position that you're coming from, Alistair. However, all three of our communities across in our wards, across our district, are distinctly different, and some councillors work in different ways to councillors in other ways. Some of our community boards work in different ways to the community boards in our other wards. There are some provide benefit for their communities, some arguably claim that there is no benefit to the community boards or with the community boards in those communities. However, I think just on the basis of those discussions, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by just blanketly stating no community boards, because as I've said before in our workshop and our previous meetings, that when you look at the population basis and the tables in the paper, I do not know how, as a councillor, I would be able to fairly represent the 1,200, the 1,500 or the 1,800 members of the population in this ward without the benefit of having a community board below the councillors in our ward to feed information up to me.
These are very good points, but just also remind everybody that we are not deciding today whether or not we're having community boards. What we're deciding is what's going out in the consultation document. So the community is then able to tell us what they want, and if it comes back very strongly saying that we do want our community boards, we really value them, we then are able to take that on for our recommendations going forward. So I think the rest of the conversation is not around the value of community boards. That's for the community to decide next. We really want to keep on topic around what we're looking at with this paper, which is, great.
Yes, I just think, and thank you, Stephen, to indicate we could ask the question in one way, the other way. And I don't see that Councillor Plummer's concerns wouldn't be answered, or that quite strongly that there is a lot of good work done by the community boards, by asking the question in a slightly more positive way than turning it around the negative way. Councillor Plum would still get, if the community really doesn't want the community boards, would get that vote either way. I just think it shows a bit of a prejudice that, and perhaps denigrating all the work that has been done by the community boards doing it that way. Thank you.
Well, that argument works both ways.
Thank you. I cannot vote for this recommendation in its current form. And excuse me, when the time comes for us to debate substantive motions, I will move the word disestablished be replaced by the word retained, partly because I think it is the decent democratic thing to do, and also just backing up what we've just heard, it doesn't restrain anybody from who doesn't value community boards from saying so quite bluntly, but at least we will have heard that that is their positive view, not just possibly a sort of a way of creeping into disestablishing them because, I don't know, it was the last item on the consultation sheet and people just didn't get time. So I want to endorse what I think at least two speakers over there and one on this side.
Let's segue into moving into the substantive motions then, unless there's anybody else that's got any new points that they want to raise. So we'll move into the recommendation. So do I have a motion to receive the representation review initial proposal? So Eland, Councillor Maynard seconds that. Those in favour? Anybody against?
No, sorry, no, I'll receive it. No, I'm happy to receive it, sorry.
Are you receiving it?
And then recommendation 2, we'll go down one by one. Yes. Okay.
Well, at what point may I move my amendment?
We'll make it to 2.3, and it's not even 2.3.
Sorry.
Do we do 2.1, 2.3, and then 3.1?
I just need to point out under standing orders, I think you have to let that part of the resolution fail. You can't replace it with an immediate negative.
Yeah.
So you couldn't move an amendment to change it to retain. You would have to let the current motion fail. That then makes it that we retain, because you can't have a direct negative.
Yes.
You can't do an amendment of a direct negative.
So we vote again.
So we'll run
So
through.
if we go through the.
We can do 2.1, 2.2.
Whenever.
You can't move a motion to change the word to retain. It's a direct negative.
Sorry. Just have a move on to, do 2.1. So adopt the following as its initial proposal for representation arrangements for the 2025 elections. 2.1, that the South Wairarapa District Council comprises the mayor elected at large and 9 councillors, of which 7 are elected from wards and 2 elected at large. We'll get a show of hands for aye for that. Do we have any noes? 1 no. And lots of if you want to click on the take your mic off mute. Voting on this?
Sorry, what's that? My sound's really sketchy. It's hard to track on what we're voting on right now.
So we're looking at the recommendations, specifically 2.1. South Wairarapa District Council comprises the mayor elected at large and 9 councillors, of which 7 are elected from wards and 2 are elected at large. Is that a yay or a nay from yourself?
That's a yay.
That's a yay. Great. Okay, and then we'll move on to 2.2. That the South Wairarapa District is divided into 4 wards with boundaries and a number of councillors as set out below. A, that the Greytown General Ward comprising the area of the existing Greytown Ward with councillors. B, the Featherston General Ward comprising the area of the existing Featherston Ward represented by 2 councillors. C, the Martinborough General Ward comprising the area of the existing Martinborough Ward represented by 2 councillors. D, the South Wairarapa Māori Ward comprising of the whole district represented by 1 councillor. All those in favour? Oh, we need a mover.
No. Oh, sorry, can I just bring up those numbers are wrong? That we're not getting enough. So there must be something else at large than on here.
You on, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's page?
So, sorry, Nick, I've just picked it up.
It is no at large, there's only 2 councillors.
So first.
Also, this is just for the wards because I was just adding it up and that comes to 7 and it doesn't say, and it says that there's meant to be 9.
You've already passed the 2 in part 1.
Did the top.
Yeah.
So that really been no because it's part of. Sorry, apologies, everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realise that we'd already passed that.
I'm happy to move in that direction.
Okay, Nikki.
Okay. Yeah.
Mike, can I ask a question? What can I?
I've made this super awkward.
Sorry.
Robin, so we had a mover and a seconder to receive the report, so that was done. We need a mover and a seconder for
each one.
2.1. Yeah. 2.1.
For 2.1 or for 2 in general.
Voting on.
Adopt the following.
Which one?
So you received the
2.1. On 2.1.
Can I just make a little statement? Doesn't 2.1 contradict 2.2 because 2.1 doesn't have the Māori ward in it?
Yes, because it's a ward. So 7 are elected from wards and then the 2 elected at.
7 are.
Now that I've read it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was in English. Okay, so we're going each one in.
You need to move 2.1.
So we have councillor Elams and Maynard's moved and seconded the report. Now we need somebody to move and second 2.1.
Happy to move that.
Up there, they shall.
And that's the one we've already voted on. Now we need to move 2.2, which is the 4 wards.
Yep.
We need a mover and a seconder for that.
Move that again.
Seconder, councillor Maynard. Great. Okay. So then we will take the 4s and against. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Just one.
Two.
2.2.
A to D,
A to D, yeah,
2.2 A.
to D, yeah.
Totally.
2.3, which is.
Yeah, so for 2.2. Yeah, agree with that.
So hands up, please. Eyes. Right. And then
Ozzy?
Yep.
Is your hand up?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
all those against, please raise your hands. No abstention. And then,
And I'd like to make an amendment.
and then
Or sorry, no, we've got to decline this first, don't we? And then I can do
we
it.
have to
No, you've got to vote on this.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll take a mover and a seconder for 2.3, that the community boards of Greytown, Featherstone, Martinborough are disestablished. I have a mover. Dr. Councillor Claus, I'll second that. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 No.
All those against?
All right, we need to.
Are we on 2.3?
Sorry, I'm at A, I'm before.
Are we in the yeses?
No, we're in the noes.
No.
So what's,
Corley, Banner, Rhodes, Elams, Woodcock.
No answers written.
Right. And
So that motion is lost.
yeah, so that motion is lost. So now I would invite an amendment.
No, motion is lost. So that now means that the document needs to be changed to say retain, because the motion to not have them has been lost. So you now are moving to retain.
So just through you, Chair, I want to be crystal clear that we are going out for consultation next week with the initial proposal will include a mayor, 2 councillors represented from the Featherstone ward, 2 councillors represented from the Greytown ward, 2 councillors represented from the Martinborough ward, 1 councillor represented from South Wairarapa Māori ward, and 2 at-large councillors that sit across the district, plus 3 community boards that are electing 4 members for the 3 community boards which sit in the wards of Greytown, Featherstone and Martinborough. That is what the initial proposal will go out to. I need to just check with Stephen because our consultation document is now significantly different from what it needs to be. So whether or not we can adopt the consultation document today before we go up to consultation next week.
Just hear from Stephen and then we'll go to Martin and Colin.
Yeah, as has been mentioned, yes, it will require some reworking of the public notice, the notification and the consultation document to effectively change that part of the proposal back to the existing arrangements. There's nothing precluding you from doing so, but yes, that is going to require that additional work, but that is a possible, that's certainly fine for you to do that today.
Great.
Yes, so now that 2.3 is, and the original wording is lost, I'd like to propose that we replace it.
No.
Already done.
It's going to be done. Yeah, but because it's come down.
But it's going to be
done.
retained.
so just to get things clear, what we've decided on, what councillors have decided on at the end of the day is that we're denying the opportunity for our communities to have a say on the future of community. Well, that's the message I'm getting loud and clear, is the fact that we're not even going to consult on community boards.
No, it's something.
Okay.
You voted again.
This is clear.
Retaining.
Your initial proposal will say that you retain community boards as they currently exist. And that is the proposal you will put to the community. The community can then feed back on that. And then you make the decision at the next stage as to whether that's your final proposal. So this is just switching the negative to the positive and then going to the community. So it's the opposite. In the way it was written in the consultation document, you would be looking for feedback from the community to keep them. What you're looking now is the opportunity for those who don't want them will come.
Yeah.
It's
Alice
say you were.
people that been in touch with.
So it's, you're not locking in community boards at all. You're just changing the wording to say retain in their current format.
So when we had workshops and when we debated and discussed this, you know, it was quite clear the message that we wanted to send to our community. Sorry.
I know I missed the last one, but it
I
wasn't.
know, but we made it pretty clear that we wanted some feedback on the future of community boards. I want to make sure that we get that feedback on the community boards, not by promoting or by negative either.
About hearing from the communities.
Be negative.
Yeah, it's not promoting negative.
Not our voice, it's theirs.
It's here.
Say if you don't like it.
Community.
Did you have something more that you wanted to add to?
They're not ears.
Sorry, was that a question for me? I'm
Yeah, did
struggling
you
to
have
hear.
something you wanted to add? Did you have something you wanted to say or?
Concerns or something?
And look,
No, sorry, just that the proposal can be written in either the negative or the positive. Just noting that in the current proposed consultation document, the question is asked, do you support the proposal to disestablish community boards? So that would need to be changed to, do you support the proposal to retain community boards? So the question is there, and that's where feedback would be invited from the community. And additional information is provided about community boards in the consultation document that can be reworked as required. So that will provide you with input for your decision making.
Voice out.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Community voices.
Well, just if I can explain what I think is probably both Councillor Old's and my own problem. If we write in the document, do you support the proposal that, we actually don't have a proposal that. What we've done is to take out a proposal regarding community boards, and we've left it at the moment for nothing.
Yeah.
So,
No, nothing. It's going to.
there is nothing. We have not voted on a proposal one way or the other at this meeting.
We voted to retain the community.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Voted against the wording in 2.3.
They did not.
We're going out to consult with the community about having 2 councillors per ward.
Yes or no?
Yeah, that's asking our community. Signing.
The at-large councillors, a mayor and community boards. That's what we're proposing will be the next.
Yeah.
Could I just, the mayor's absolutely right. We have voted to get rid of 2.3. We have not yet replaced it.
Exactly.
Could we listen to our chief?
You haven't had a vote to replace it with anything. So at the moment, 2.3 does not exist.
Standing Order 22.5, an amendment cannot be a direct negative to the motion or an amended motion. You cannot create a motion now that is a direct negative of the one that was on the table. The one that was on the table was to disestablish. If you now create a motion to retain, that is a direct negative of the one that you've already voted down. Therefore, the fact that that vote failed means that you want to retain them.
Yes, so automatically.
Through the chair, you only have 2 options on this, to retain them or to disestablish
Yeah.
them. And you choose not to disestablish them, which means that they are retained.
Thank you. Thank you for your clarification.
Does that then mean we don't go out and consult the public on it?
No, it means we are.
Do a consultation.
If it doesn't, if it doesn't exist, then we're not consulting on it.
It'll be in there as 2.3.
But can it not be,
No, we're being retained.
can we not ask the question of for or against, like, you know, to retain or disestablish? Why do we have to have, why do you have to have one or the other?
Kind of questions.
Because you have to put in a proposal and then get feedback on that proposal. You're not asking
Ask them questions.
for one or the other. You're not giving options.
So, because so either one leads someone down a path, whether we're saying, whether it's a negative path, we're seeking to do this, or it's a positive path, we want to do that. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
so
like,
that we
you
can
know,
learn as
it's,
community.
so, you know, you're never going to please both sides of the room on this. No,
You get a vote.
When I look at it, the main thing is that we're still giving the community
a voice
to feedback around.
About community boards.
And this is wording around this last part around the community boards, I think brings it more in line with what some councillors are wanting, what we've heard from the community board in the back. Yeah, but it's not us to decide here what we want.
That's what, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
That's what's going on.
It's about what we're asking of people. Stephen, did you want to add to that?
Yes, just to confirm that your resolution must include provision for community boards if you are proposing to retain them. So you cannot leave that unresolved. If the wish is to retain community boards, then you need to resolve that the community boards are retained. You also need to specify the number of elected members that will be elected to each community board. So it's effectively replacing that with what's required under legislation, what the community boards are, what their areas are, what the number of elected members is. So that would need to be resolved as part of your resolution today.
How do we deal with that being a direct negative, Stephen?
Madam Chair.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with your standing orders, so but that would need to be resolved.
Just going to ask,
Potentially.
Sorry, Rob.
yeah, I was just going to ask.
Madam Chair, Part 3 requires us then to change the statement of proposal, and that I'd recommend that that you would include us to include updates to community boards, and that resolution to include the number of community board elected members. So it's not a negative understanding orders. You're actually just directing officers to update that, and that's providing some clear direction if that meets Stephen and the standing of the requirements.
So we would need to
So we do need to just put it in with the wording saying retained. Is that what you mean, Rob?
Let's take a 5-minute adjournment to talk to Rob about how that.
Can I just ask a question? Just through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Rob or Nikki just what it would look like in the document in terms of giving the opportunity for community to provide feedback on community boards. Could you perhaps read out what it would?
Yeah, sure. So at the on page 8 of the statement of proposal, you'll see that there's a questionnaire form.
Yeah.
So what we would do is that the 2, 3, 6, 8. The 8th question down is, do you support the initial proposal in full? Now, the initial proposal in full is what we voted on now, and would also have a statement in about retaining community boards. So that would be known as a submission proposal. The other part to it, which is below that, if people didn't support that, they would have the options: do you support proposal to retain community boards, for example. So there's further questions beyond that. So if they don't support the proposal, we can then break down further what part don't you support. Is it the general law, the elected members by at large, or the community boards? Plus, also the way we've worded it up front is we will be able to find out which area they're from. So we say they're from Greytown, Featherston, Barnborough, and give you that breakdown. So, for example, if people from one of the wards said they don't support the proposal because they don't support the community board, they'd be able to tell us that, and vice versa. If they're from this particular ward and they support community boards, they will generally say it's
excellent. So at least they've got
covered. We'll take a bit of work just to go through the document.
Yes. What can I just ask? So with that, would we'd actually get feedback, for example, just hypothetically, if there was one, like, for example, Featherston, for example, this is hypothetical, hated the community board and Martinborough loved it, that would come through, we'd be getting the
information.
also look to there were a couple of comments earlier about some other things to be included in the consultation document, and one of them is include other examples of representation. So we could also include a question after, do you support the proposal to retain community boards? We could include, do you see that this representation could be provided elsewhere through other advisory groups, and list them and get some free text feedback on that. So
That's good. Yeah.
So I'm just going to give a 5-minute adjournment for us to clarify the next motion.
Oh, wait, I'm not going to, yeah.
You're right there, kiddo.
Rob,
running.
It's going to be a long day.
He was telling me, he could have,
Lunchtime comes, so I get hungry at 12 o'clock.
Putting down.
You need to stream because no one wants to talk.
he couldn't fight for it because he.